Hey, what do you know? The real Michael has made a comeback. I got the shades back with the tank top. I got the sun shining again in the 70s. It's beautiful, guys. And don't worry, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just stating that it's no longer cold here in Florida, which is pretty rare for it to get as cold as it was here. We actually got down into the 40s here in Miami during that crazy cold snap, which is very cold for this area. I think since I've lived here in 15 years, I can only remember like one other time it got colder than that. I think it was probably the first or second winter that I lived here. It got down to in the 30s in Miami. It was so cold I had to turn the heat on. But that's pretty unusual for over here. Glad it's back to normal. Now, one thing I promised I would keep you guys posted on is what is going on with this insane homeowners insurance situation, particularly here in Florida. But some of this bleeds over into homeowner insurance in general, and really everybody who owns real estate or is thinking about buying a property in the near future needs to pay attention to this, because homeowners insurance, along with property taxes, is one of the fastest rising costs of ownership right now. Last week here in Florida, Governor DeSantis signed into law the new insurance reform bill, and this is aimed at trying to make insurance cheaper via making it more appealing for more insurers to come back to the state of Florida because of some of the things that they've done. And I already went over a lot of the details on that in a previous video, so go ahead and check that out if you want the details. But this video is going to be more aimed at people opting to have no homeowners insurance because it's simply becoming too expensive. And you know, who's doing this, why are they doing it, and what are the potential pros and cons of this? Because I've seen a few people in my comments say on that last insurance video that they are going to self-insure themselves now because it's just getting out of hand with what the insurance is charging. And you know, in the end, the insurance company will likely find a way to deny your premium because they're in the business of denying premiums, not paying premiums. That's how they make money. Now, first of all, if you've ever thought about or wondered about having no homeowners insurance, if you have a mortgage, this isn't going to be possible for you guys. So that's important to know right off the bat. So the only people who are even eligible to have no homeowners insurance are people who own their homes free and clear. So make sure that you're aware of that. And there is no law that requires homeowners to have homeowners insurance if you don't have a mortgage on the property. So this requirement comes only from lenders if you have a loan on your property. But it's generally thought to be a bad idea for people to go without homeowners insurance due to all of the risks that you're taking on by not having it. Because according to this article from the Florida Realtors, a lot of people who decide not to have insurance and to self-insure, they're saying that the odds of these people being able to climb out of a mess if there was a total disaster or a total loss is slim to none. Most of these people who self-insure don't actually have the funds that it would take to completely rebuild after a full-on disaster. Now in Florida, it's estimated, and this is just an estimate because there are no official figures on this, that 13% of all homeowners in the state do not have homeowners insurance. So that's not a huge number. It's not like it's half or even a quarter, but still 13% out of all the homeowners here is still pretty significant. And one thing that these insurance companies and lawmakers say that they're worried about now is they think that 13% is going to climb much higher into the near future as homeowners insurance premiums continue to rise. Because going into 2023, guys, if you live here in Florida, and not just in Florida, in a lot of areas across the country, it's almost a guarantee that your homeowners insurance is going to be going up, and in some cases doubling or even tripling. And that is not an exaggeration. I have several examples of that I could point to. And across the country, there is an estimated 30 million homes owned free and clear where they have no mortgage, and these people are the ones who could actually go without having homeowners insurance, and that's a pretty significant number as well. So we already know that you need to own your home free and clear in order to have no homeowners insurance. So who exactly is opting to have no insurance? One set of people that's opting to have it are people who inherited a property that was paid off free and clear, and they're just choosing not to have it because, well, there's probably a lot of different reasons, but it's also easy to just not worry about it when you didn't have to work for it or pay for it, but I'm not going to go too deep into that. The typical homeowners insurance here in Florida for a regular single family home on average is about $4,000 to $5,000 per year. Now that is just a rough estimate, and it can highly depend on the area. Like insuring this house behind me here is probably going to cost a whole lot more than insuring a similar house over in Ocala, okay? So it's going to vary widely. Another thing that varies widely as well is the cost of flood insurance, because depending on where your property is located, flood insurance can be extremely expensive. But some of the other people, and probably the most obvious one, that decide to go insurance free are wealthy people. Because if you're a multimillionaire, you can afford to rebuild your home from scratch, and you're willing to take that chance, then maybe people like that will just take that chance. Hey, I got complaints last time I didn't stop for the cool old cars. Check that one out. Sometimes I just get so wrapped up in what I'm saying, guys, and if I stop, I'll lose my train of thought, just totally forget what I was saying. So sometimes I don't stop even if I see something cool, but this time I did for you. But it might come as no surprise that another large group of people that decide to go without homeowners insurance are people that are lower income and don't have a lot of money. So they have enough money to own a home, and maybe they paid it off, maybe they're retired, or maybe they live in a mobile home, or they bought in an old condo building, something like that, things that were built a long time ago that aren't really built up to code, and the cost of insurance would just eat too much into their monthly budget, so they forego it. Besides not having coverage when there's a disaster, one of the biggest risks to homeowners not having homeowners insurance is in the case of liability. If something happens to someone at your property and you get sued, something like that, then the concern is, well, you could be in trouble because you don't have any insurance, and then you get sued, and then they take everything you got. So that is a legitimate concern, and I could see how people would be worried about that. So basically the rule of thumb and the typical advice is insurance being only $4,000 or $5,000 a year for the typical home. It's still a very small fraction of what the home's actually worth and what you need to pay to replace it. So you should have it no matter what, especially when it comes to the liability factor. I have one for sale. This place is being marketed as a licensed Airbnb home. I wonder how much you'd have to rent this place out per night to make a $1,350,000 house profitable. Any guesses? Now, one of the biggest questions that I see from people when it comes to homeowners insurance is, what if I buy a condo and I pay cash? Do I have to have insurance then? Because I'm in a building that's managed by an HOA, I'm not just buying my own freestanding single-family home. And here's the deal with that. There is no law that requires people who buy condos in cash to have homeowners insurance on their property. But there are some caveats to this. First of all, there is a law that all these buildings need to have a master insurance policy. So even though you might not have insurance on your unit individually that covers the inside contents of your unit, the building itself still needs to have a master insurance policy, and that is paid through your monthly HOA dues. But one thing that a lot of people might not realize is that condo associations and HOAs in general can pretty much make their own rules at will, guys. And that's something that my condo recently did earlier this year. They're requiring all unit owners now to have insurance on their individual unit. And there are some people that have owned units in my building for like 20 plus years, free and clear, that have not had insurance, and now they're being forced to get it whether they like it or not. And the condo associations and homeowners associations have the power to do that, okay? They can do that anytime they want. That is something to look into if you're planning on buying a condo and you don't want to have insurance, is finding out if they have policies like this. But just remember that even if they don't have something like that in place right now, it doesn't guarantee that they won't into the future. But also think about it like this. Living in a condo is a different ballgame than living in a house like these, because when you live in a condo and you have people on top of you and below you and next to you, whatever, that opens up liability as well. So there was an example that I can think of that happened in my building where somebody's water heater exploded and it damaged several units below because you got all that water leaking down below into their units, okay? And that's not something that's covered by the master insurance policy, because this happened inside someone's individual unit and that individual unit owner is responsible for it. So think about this. If that person did not have insurance, then they would be personally liable for paying for the cost of repair for all the units below, and if they got sued, they would be sitting ducks. So it is important to have insurance, even if you feel like maybe you don't need to have it, if that's your situation. Now, if you live in your own single family home, maybe you can afford to take more chances because your property is not a direct liability to your next door neighbor. Now, if you're someone that is considering going without insurance, this is how you can figure out more or less if you can afford to do so. First of all, it's recommended that you have a minimum of 6 months of your entire living expenses saved up in case your home does have a major problem and you need to relocate temporarily, and that 6-month emergency fund will allow you to, pay for a hotel and keep paying for your utilities, whatever you need to pay for while your home is being repaired. But that's nothing compared to the real recommendation of what you should have in the bank in case of a total loss. Because in reality, that's what insurance is really for. It's for the big one, right? It's for when the place gets completely decimated, like we saw with Hurricane Ian, and there's basically nothing left, or the home is just, completely destroyed with water damage, whatever. They recommend people have about $725,000 and should be enough to cover rebuilding a home from scratch, which puts the median home price here in Florida at about $407,000 right now, plus the cost to remove any debris or any other fees that might be involved in rebuilding, construction costs, whatever. So they're saying $725K that you need to have to be self-insured, guys. What do you think about that? So then they have some tips here on what to do in case you can't afford insurance anymore. Say you get your renewal bill and you can't afford to pay, but yet you're required to have insurance because you have a mortgage on the property, like most people do. Well, unfortunately, there's not too many options, guys. Basically, the going advice is get with an insurance broker that will have access to a lot of different policies, as well as maybe try bundling your policies, when you have the homeowners insurance combined with your auto insurance and things like that. And they also say to go ahead and take the highest deductible that the policy offers, because that will significantly lower your premium. But you should only do that, of course, if you can actually afford to pay that deductible, because if the deductible is 10 grand, you got to make sure you got 10 grand at any moment to pay when that deductible becomes due, if you need to make a claim. And I actually have a real life example to share with you guys. One of my viewers, Alan, he wrote me an email today, just coincidentally, and this is the perfect story to put in this video because it's a real life scenario of how this might go down for some people. And what happened to him is he was actually wrongfully accused by his insurance company for making several claims in a year. And what this did, because these claims went mistakenly on his record, it took his 3-bedroom home in Kissimmee, Florida, from an $1,890 per year insurance policy to, they raised it overnight to $6,900, guys. So like I told you earlier, that it's not an exaggeration for people to see their insurance bill double or triple. This is it right here, okay? So that's what happened to him. And basically, they said that he had made 4 claims in the past year, which was not actually true. And somehow this got tied to his property from a nearby property that made a claim. So they made a mistake. So he said that the 4 claims were a mistake, but he actually did have 1 claim when a lightning bolt struck his house and he had a pipe burst, okay? So that was the only one legitimate claim that he made from his insurance company. So then he managed to get this whole thing sorted out with the insurance company, and they said, oh, don't worry, our bad, we're gonna lower it down to $5,700. So he still wasn't happy with that price, needless to say, going from about $2,000 to $5,700, guys. It's still triple. Wow, it gets even better. This house is listed by the same listing agent as the previous one, and this house is roughly the same exact size, but yet they're asking $400,000 more marketing it as an Airbnb, and on top of that, it's a flip from a year ago, and somehow they think they're going to double their money. Good luck with that one, guys. So in the end, his insurance broker suggested that he hire a lawyer and sue, and that's exactly what he did. And the lawyer suggested that he sue the insurance company for $90,000 for the unnecessary stress. Also would cover some of the damage that he had from Hurricane Ian, like his pool screen being damaged and the paint being chipped away on the exterior of the house, things like that. So he decided to go for that, but he wasn't really sure what the outcome was going to be. Insurance companies usually don't want to go through lawsuits, and a lot of times they'll opt for a settlement. And that's exactly what they did for Alan. They reached out to him 2 weeks after he filed the lawsuit and said, will you take 45? So obviously they're trying to make it cheaper for them because he's suing for 90. They offered him 45 and he took it. And his lawyer took 15K and Alan got 30K. Not bad for going through all of this headache and stress of the insurance situation. And you know the best part about this? His insurance broker actually found another company willing to insure him for $2,600 per year, which is a far cry from the $5,700 that his original company was trying to lower it to. So having a new rate and a new company for $2,600 is a pretty good deal in comparison. Now keep in mind that Alan is in Kissimmee, and that's very inland in Florida, and one of the major concerns that they have to worry about over there is flooding more than anything else. But as far as, you know, major damage from hurricanes, it's not too much of an issue over there. So he was able to get a very fair rate in comparison to what his old company was charging, plus winning the 30 grand in a lawsuit. So all in all, not a bad deal for him. But he wanted me to share a couple things with you guys on this and some lessons and some takeaways. And basically they are that, number one, you always have to shop around, guys. If you're getting nailed by your insurance company right now, you need to shop around, which leads directly into the next lesson from this, is that even though there are a lot of insurance companies pulling out of Florida right now, one thing that's not talked about a lot, there's a lot of new insurance companies coming in to fill the void and take their place, and that's ultimately how he ended up getting this cheaper policy, was with a new company that started writing policies here in Florida. And that's exactly what this new bill is designed to do. The hope here is to draw more companies into the insurance market into Florida, and the more companies we have available that write insurance policies, the more it increases competition, and then you're letting the free market do its job, because the more competition you have, the lower prices and premiums ultimately become. So that's the idea behind this. And maybe it's already starting to work when you look at Alan's stories. Maybe there's hope after all when it comes to having homeowners insurance in Florida. I hope so, because that is one of the biggest wild card factors right now when it comes to property ownership. And obviously Alan's story is a success story when it comes to homeowners insurance, and not everybody is going to have such a success story. But you know, he wants people to know that you shouldn't let the insurance company bully you and try to make your life miserable or unaffordable, guys. You have to fight back, and I think that lesson applies with everything in life. So make sure that if you're getting hit with these premium increases going into next year, that you at least try to find something cheaper, because maybe you'll be able to. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the bell notification down below. YouTube will alert you every time I post a new video. And if you don't want to wait, check out my next one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.